you're trying to work out which platform you want to use for your freelancing, you've probably stumbled across the two biggest ones, which is Fiverr and Upwork. But which one do you choose? And more importantly, which one can potentially make you more money? In this video, I'm going to break down the pros, the cons, the differences, so you can decide which platform is right for you before you start pouring hours into it. So first of all, how does each platform work? The biggest difference between Fiverr and Upwork is how you get work. So on Fiverr, you create a gig and then clients come to you. With this, you list what you offer, your price, your packages, essentially what it is you do. However, with Upwork, you apply for jobs and clients post opportunities. So you send proposals, pitches, offers. So Fiverr is a bit more passive in the sense that you get up a listing and try and get inbound clients. But Upwork, you have to be pretty active and be sending out a lot of pitches and proposals in order to bring in clients. So depending on how you work, one of these might be better for you immediately. But if we take a look at earning potential for both, on Fiverr, beginners often start pretty low per job, and that's because you haven't had any reviews yet. This kind of limits you to charging a certain amount. On top of that as well, with Fiverr, you set a standard price for your gig, and you can have different options, but all clients will pay that. When it comes to Upwork, the projects are either hourly or even if they're project based, the jobs can vary depending on who you're working with. So on Fiverr, you essentially set your own price, and even though you do that as well on Upwork, different clients have different expectations for paying, and depending on what the job is, might change how much they're willing to pay you. Also with Fiverr, you can potentially earn quite a lot of money in a smaller amount of time, only because with Upwork, when it's hourly based, often sometimes with jobs, the employer might even want to just see what you've done on an hour by hour basis, which means you are really limited to the amount of hours you can do, rather than with Fiverr, you can set a certain price, do it in an hour, and then send it back to them. So it's a bit different in that regard. But in terms of getting your first client on both, Fiverr is probably easier to start and there's no proposals needed, but it is hard to stand out because it is pretty saturated. Both platforms have a lot of freelancers on it, so there is saturation there as well, but Fiverr is exceptionally saturated. You've also got a lot of people on there that are charging extremely low just to basically beat out the competition, which means you have to then lower your own prices if you want to compete, so that can be difficult as well. With Upwork, there can be more direct opportunities, but you need to pitch yourself, so you need to do a lot of work with sending out pitches to each individual job, and you might not hear back from any of them. However, it can be a little bit easier if you're very active to land that first job. With both Fiverr and Upwork, you do need to start building reviews, and without reviews, it's difficult to get jobs. So you do have to start off with a bit of a chicken and egg situation where you don't really have any reviews, so it's hard to get jobs in the first place. But the moment you start building up reviews on both, things do get easier and you can charge more. But if you look at it this way, on Fiverr, you wait to be discovered. On Upwork, you go out and find the work. As I mentioned about the saturation, if we look at how competitive each platform is, both platforms, they are competitive, but in different ways. So with Fiverr, lots of low price gigs, you have global competition and there's similar services everywhere. With Upwork, there's fewer listings, but there is higher quality jobs. It requires strong proposals and it's more skill-based competition. So Fiverr is crowded, but Upwork is selective. In terms of getting a profile set up and just your general ease of use for each platform, Fiverr has a pretty simple setup and it's very beginner friendly and it has a very clear pricing structure. Upwork, you have to be a bit more professional. It is better for long-term clients though, but it is a bit more complex to learn. If you're brand new to freelancing, I'd say Fiverr is probably easier to set up, but if you are a bit more confident, then Upwork can be really powerful. In terms of the type of work you get from both, obviously it varies by industry, but on Fiverr, more often than not, it's quick gigs, one-off jobs and smaller projects. But with Upwork, it's long-term clients and ongoing work with potentially higher value contracts. Upwork is closer to a traditional freelancing career, and Fiverr is just more like a marketplace. But let's summarize the pros and cons here so you can try and work out which one you want to go for. Bearing in mind as well, you can just be on both, which I would recommend. But the Fiverr pros, it's easy to start, passive client flow, and it's very scalable. In terms of the cons, it has low starting prices and high competition. For Upwork pros, it has higher paying clients, long-term work, professional opportunities. The cons for Upwork though, however, is it's a bit harder to start. It requires pitching, which can be very time consuming and can burn you out. And there's a bit more rejection early on because of this. So which one is better is a hard question to answer because they can both be good in different ways. And like I said, you can just be on both. But choose Fiverr if you're a complete beginner, you want something simple, or you prefer clients coming to you. Choose Upwork if you're confident pitching, you want higher paying clients, and you're aiming for long-term work. So depending on what you're looking for, I think you'll be able to sort of tell which one is better for you from that breakdown. But let me know which one you are going for and leave it in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this, hit like, subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.